Hello and welcome to CA 121. This is Heather Hines, your course instructor. Here we're going to talk about Chapter 3. Mostly we're going to talk about the different types of charts that you will see: line chart, pie chart, funnel chart in Chapter 3. So let's see how to apply them. And once again, I will be going over some vocabulary and how it applies to your Chapter 3 grader. Alright, so a little bit of vocab. We have data points, which is just a single points of data. So all of these are considered data points. When you graph a data point, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 points graphed down here in this line chart, they become data markers. So these are 4 data markers and they come from the 4 data points. A group of data points or data points that are related and graphed in a chart are called data series. So all these points together are considered a data series. A plot area is just the middle area plot bounded by the x and the y axes. So it's this middle area is your plot area. And then the entire chart, including the title, the background, your plot area, your x and your y axes, that is called your chart area. So the entire chart is your chart area. The inside part of the chart is your plot area. Today we're also going to be talking about Format Painter, which just allows you to copy and paste a format from one cell to another instead of you clicking on the cell and trying to memorize, okay, this is Times New Roman size 14, that's bold italic. You can just click on this Format Painter and copy that format to any cell that you like. Then we have chart elements, which we'll see while we do our grader. Chart elements, you use this little plus sign when you're in a chart, and that allows you to change different chart elements. And again, we'll see that during the lesson. There's 3 main charts that we're going to be seeing today: line chart, pie chart, and a funnel chart. A line chart is when you want to use this when you have some type of change over time. So in terms of, when you're a company, you might show your revenue by different quarters. There's 4 quarters. Or 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, different years. So generally line charts are done change over time, where time is always on the x-axis. Pie chart is good to show relative differences, and that's when you have percents of a whole. And then a funnel chart allows you to show value across stages in a process. So basically you see a funnel as you have a big group of people. So we might have all students at ABC, and then you might funnel them into, you have the male students at ABC, and then you have the male students who are in the business department at ABC. So that would be a funnel. You're going from a wide basket of them to a smaller basket. You're funneling through a process. Alright, so let us go ahead and complete our Chapter 3 grader together. First thing they want us to do, and they usually want us to do totals, so we're just going to fill in these blanks right here. Remember, there's a couple ways to do it. I choose to just manually input the formula, equal sum, highlight what I want, and then just pull that across. Do that for this column as well, equal sum. I want to add up all the quarters here. Pull that down. And it says it wants F6 through F9 to have the comma style with 0 decimals. So F6 through F9 is going to have the comma style with no decimals. And that was step 2. Step 3 says to construct a formula for percents. So I want to know, okay, what percent of salaries and benefits is it for the annual total? So I'm going to go, hey, equals the annual total for salaries and benefits divided by the total. And I'm going to be using this formula all the way down, which means I want to divide by that same total. So I'm going to press F4 to make that an absolute reference. Make sure you have money signs in front of both the letter and the number, and press enter. And now, because we made that an absolute reference for F10, we can pull that down. We can make these into percentages. And then it wants us to center these numbers. There we go. We just completed step 3. Step 4 says, hey, make a 3D pie chart from those percentages. Remember, so pie charts are always good to use when you're dealing with percentages or things that are part of a whole. So it says, hey, make a pie chart, the annual total for each item. Use a 3D pie chart to chart the annual total. So here are the annual totals. So we're going to highlight that. And we're going to highlight the titles. So when you make a pie chart, you want to highlight the totals and you want to go always parallel. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values. So the corresponding values that tell me the titles of what those items are. If for some reason you forget, you can go back. It's just kind of a little bit more work. So let's just, for example, say that I forgot to get the titles, and I go and I make my 3D pie chart. Instead of them being labeled down here, they have just generic numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because Excel doesn't know what their names are. So if you forget, you can always go click anywhere on the chart. Up here now you have your chart tools. You're going to click select data, and instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're going to say, hey, no, I don't want it to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want it to say salaries, machinery, materials, professional service, miscellaneous. And now you notice that the bottom legend has changed. Okay. The other way I could have made that chart, if in fact I had highlighted that range and then selected, press control, So I highlight, press control, highlight again, I go to insert, 3D pie chart, and I get the same result. It wants me to move this chart to another sheet, so I'm going to just right click anywhere on the chart. I'm going to say move chart to a new sheet, and I'm going to name that annual expenses chart. So now I've done step 4, I'm on step 5. For the title, it wants summary of annual expenses and the font size to be 28. So I'm just going to double click there and say summary of annual expenses. And while I'm there, I'm going to go to the home tab. I'm going to change that to 28 font. Oops, I didn't change it. I need to select it again. Make sure it's selected, and there we go. That was step 5. Now step 6, it says remove the legend and make sure you have data labels formatted, centered with percentages and category name and a font size of 12. So here we go. So to do all that, there's a couple different ways. You can go to chart tools and use the chart elements button here, or you can use this little plus sign which also accesses your chart elements. It says, hey, I want data labels and I do not want a legend, so I'm going to unclick legend. I'm going to click on data labels, but notice how it just gives me the numbers. That's not what I want, so I'm going to use the little expander arrow and go to more options. And now I can, so I'm going to go to label options. Usually that opens up automatically, but in this case it didn't. So there's, color, fill border, the shape effects, the size, and label options. So I'm going to unclick value. I'm going to click on percentage and category name. And it says I want to center that. So again, I clicked on chart elements on the last label options, and then I clicked on category name and percentages, and I centered that. Lastly, it says, hey, while you have it, go ahead and make that font 12 the easiest way for me, and I'm sure there's other ways to do it, but for me it's just to go to the home tab. They're still already highlighted because I haven't clicked out, and I'm going to just change that to font 12. That was step 6. Step 7 says, hey, let's do some of the 3D format effects. Alright, so this is where it gets a little bit silly, interesting, because I'm going to open up it says format the data series. So what is a data series and how do I get there? Well, if you click in different places of the chart, you'll see that over here on the right hand side it says different things. So that's why you need to be familiar with a different vocabulary. So there's chart area, which is the entire chart. That's what this says here, format chart area. I could format the data series. I could format my data labels. I could format my chart title or my plot area. So notice how this has been changing. So make sure it says data series. How can I change it without, so I can either click around until I see data series, which is here, or I can use this pull down and click on series, okay? So now I'm in format data series, and it wants me to do the 3D effect, so that would be 3D format. It wants me to choose the first one in both of these, and it wants the width to be 50 for the top bevel, and for the bottom one, and I'm just pressing the tab button to get it to move around, is 256. So I'm just manually inputting this 256, and voila, that was step 7. Gonna make this bigger. The next step says, hey, display the series options, which is where I already am, and then set the angle of the first slice to 125. So I'm going to change the angle of my pie chart, and then it's flowed one of my slices, this salaries and benefits slice. Okay. So it's basically saying rotate this 110 so that salaries and benefits is in the front. How do I know? Well, they kind of played with it and they must have figured out 110 was the perfect angle. So I go to this series options. I say, hey, I want the first slice to be 110 degrees. I just press tab, or I could press enter, either one, and it wants it to be a 10% explosion. Oops, I'm sorry, no. That is not what I wanted to do. My bad. I don't want to explode all of them. I only wanted to explode this first one. So I need to click on just that first one, the salaries and benefits, and explode it. Sorry. I'm gonna... So instead of clicking on all, I'm just going to click on this bottom one, the salaries and benefits, and explode that one. Click 10% and tab. Alright, so now it says format the chart area. Before we were on data series, now we're going to go to chart area. So make sure that you understand that these are different areas within the chart. So first I need to find, how do I get to chart area? Well, I could press this pull down, get to chart area, and it highlights the entire chart because that's what chart area means. It wants me to apply a gradient fill. So I'm going to go to this color bucket thing, go to fill, gradient fill, and it wants, under my preset gradients, me to pick the second gradient in the first column. Format the border of the chart by adding a solid line border. So border is down here. I'm going to expand that out and scroll down. I'm going to say, hey, I want a solid line. Fourth column, first color, 1, 2, 3. Fourth column, first color is already chosen for me. It might not be for you. And it wants me to have a width of 3. So I'm going to scroll down. The width right here, I'm just going to type in 3, or I could press the up arrow. There we go. And now I have a border around my chart area. That was step 9. Step 10 says display the page setup box, and then for this chart sheet, insert a custom footer in the left section with a file name. I'm going to go to page setup, page layout, and I'm going to say, hey, I want to insert a footer with file name. That's this little Excel. When you scroll on top of it, it says insert file name. And we're going to be using that button a lot in this grader. That was pretty easy. Step 10 was easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now it wants me to go back to the expense worksheet, and I am going to make a line chart with the quarter names and the totals for each quarter. So I'm going to go to the expense sheet. I'm going to make a line chart with the totals by quarter and the quarters. Remember, when you're highlighting, it's always an equal number in each range. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters, so I can only highlight 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers down below. I'm going to click insert, line chart with markers, which is this fourth one in for me. It wants it to be the upper left corner inside of the A12 somewhere. It wants the title to be Recreation Department Expense Zone. And then it says, hey, change the width to 7.5. Alright, so the easiest way to change the width is to click on the chart, make sure you're in chart area. You click on the size and properties, go to size, and for width it says, hey, the width should be 7.5. And that is it for step 11. Step 12 says, hey, let's change the axes. We want to change the y-axis or the value axis so that minimum is whatever this number is here, 2.1 million, and the major axis units is 50,000, okay? So that is not a chart area. That would be my plot area, so I need to make sure I'm in my plot area. Either click on the plot area here, or I could choose plot area from the pull down. I'm sorry, not plot area, value axis. I was talking about the value axis, my bad. So I go to axis options. So I misspoke. It should be axis options, not chart area. You go to axis options. You want it says that it wants the minimum to be 210 4 zeros. I think I wrote that in correctly. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. Nope, I'm missing a 0. So there's the minimum. That makes more sense. And it wants the major axis to be 50,000. And it wants me to bold the values, so I'm going to just highlight the values right here. It'll highlight all of them. I'm going to go to my home tab, press bold. Same thing for the x-axis. I'm going to bold them. Okay. So that was step 12. It says to, oops, nope, not what I meant to do. It says to close any panes and click on A1. You really don't need to do that, but you should be saving your workbook frequently. Next one is to copy the annual totals in cell F10. So basically, here is F10. It wants us to copy and do a paste special here so that we're pasting the values in number formatting. Now here they're saying, hey, we want to do a 5-year forecast, basically. And we expect to have an annual increase of 3.5%. So 3.5% is not a lot, so these numbers should be getting a little bit bigger each time. But how formula-wise am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to say, hey, look at the previous year's values, and I'm going to increase it by 3.5%. There's a couple different ways to do that. Make sure that you're not just multiplying by 3.5% because that'll give you just a really small number. That would be the increase, not the value total. So you have to have the last year's value added to the 3.5% increase. So that's what I did here. I made 3.5% an absolute cell reference because each year I'm going to be increasing by that same amount. Okay, I'm going to just pull that across. You notice how they have that number symbol? That's just because the number is so big that it doesn't really fit in these cells because they probably automatically already have decimals. So don't worry about that, and that'll actually get fixed in just a moment. So what did we do? We copied and pasted. We did the increase. We filled that. Now they want us to use the Format Painter to copy the formatting from B35 to C35 through F35. So I want this formatting to look the same. I want it to look nice and constant. So I'm going to go to my Format Painter. So I'm on my Home tab. I go to Format Painter. And now you see how it's kind of looks like I cut it, but it's really not. It's Format Painted. So I just left click and go all the way across. And now I pasted that format to those cells. Alright, I just finished step 13. Now we're going to go to step 14, which basically just says, hey, do some orientation things to your worksheet. So that would be under page layout. I might just want to do this all at the same time because there's multiple things. So it says, hey, make sure it's landscape. Do the scale to fit option to fit the height to one page. So I want to fit to 1 page tall. I want to center the worksheet horizontally. So I go to the Margins tab, center horizontally, and insert a custom footer with a file name. So header footer, custom footer, left section is already clicked. Click on this file name, press OK. And again, you want to be saving periodically. That was step 14. Right now it wants me to go to the last worksheet and insert a funnel chart. Our funnel chart shows progress through different processes. And typically the numbers start big and they get smaller. So let's do step 15. We're going to go to the enrollment. We are going to click on this. We're going to click insert. Maybe I'll go to recommended chart. I could go to all charts and try to find funnel chart, or I could go to recommended. Here is the funnel chart right here. I press OK. It says change the height of the chart to 2.5 and the width to 3. So remember, I click on the chart area, make sure it says chart area over here, click on the sizing, and it wants the height to be 2.5 and the width to be 3. I'm just using the tab button. It wants the title to be Enrollment Analysis. And I'm going to move this chart into A9. It says then click on cell A1. You really don't have to do that. Really just you need to click outside the chart because I'm going to go to the page layout features. If I stay in the chart and try to do page layout, it won't give me the same options. See how I can't click horizontally or vertically because I'm doing page setup, but then I have things within the page highlighted. So I had to click cancel, click outside somewhere so that the chart isn't selected, and then I can go do my page setup features. So in this case, they want me to center the worksheet horizontally. So I go to Margins, center horizontally, and again I'm going to insert that custom footer. Press OK. And since they're having me insert that custom footer to each of these, I could have really grouped these pages together, right? And just done all that at the same time. But whatever works. Number 16, we're almost done. It says display the county partnership worksheet, and we are going to do a field map chart. Field map chart, you really don't use that very often unless you're doing statistics. Here we go, we're going to highlight our different counties with the number of partner cities. I'm going to go to Insert, Recommended Chart, and it's this map looking chart, field map. I'm going to press OK. I'm sorry, I just realized they wanted me to include A3 and B3 in this. So if you messed up on your selecting your data, you can always go to Select Data and reselect it in the chart data range and press OK. What that did is just change the legend to number of partner cities instead of series 1 right here. And I'm going to change this to partnership analysis. Drag the chart so the upper left hand corner is in D1. So I'm going to grab this and put it in D1. Change the chart width to 4. So I need to be on chart area. I go to the sizing and it wants the width to be 4. And I need to deselect the chart because I'm going to do some page layout features. It says it wants the orientation to be landscape. And that was step 16. Step 17, our last step, is we are going to center this worksheet horizontally and insert a custom footer. Okay. I wish I had done that while I had my page setup stuff open. So I'm going to open it back up my page setup. Go to margins, center horizontally. Do a custom footer again. And really I could have grouped these worksheets and done this all at the same time. It would have been a little bit faster. I'm going to press OK. Then it says, open up the workbook properties. So the workbook properties, you go to File, you go to one of these options, I think. No, sorry. Go to File, Info, and really again, the best way to learn all this stuff is just to kind of play around. Hopefully you're trying this on your own rather than just copying my steps on the video. The video is really to help you if you come across a problem, not for you to follow step by step. Right, so under tags it says recreation, workshops, expenses. And then it wants the subject to be our course name. I don't see subject here, so I might say show all properties. And it doesn't really matter what you put here, just put CA121, that's fine. Make sure that you're here as an author. If not, you can add an author. You can press escape. I'm going to press save or escape, either one. Make sure you have saved it properly. Close it out and submit it. Hopefully this was helpful. Thank you for joining me for Chapter 3.